Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We're really glad you're here for today's webinar titled 5 Ways Capital Project Success is Changing, hosted by JEPCO. We've got a great panel for you today, and we're really glad you're here. We've got some incredible information to share about how capital projects are going to change over the next few years, and you're going to be the first to hear how you can get ahead of the curve. Like I said, we've got a great panel. I'm going to introduce them in just a minute. But first, let me just say, we invite you to send in questions during the webinar today, and we're going to be answering those. And we really want to hear from you. So please send in questions throughout today's webinar. So let's meet our esteemed panel of experts today here from JEPCO. First, let me introduce you to Kevin McKee. He's our Director of Construction Services. You know, the interesting thing about Kevin, he was actually a Job EPC customer for years while he was at Marathon until we were able to hire him away. He brings field construction insights from the customer and engineering side that's truly invaluable. Next is Jay Sorensen. He is an automation engineer and one of the top automation experts in the industry, and he leads all of our research and development efforts here at JEPCO. Our next presenter is Ben Rand, who has been with JEPCO for over 12 years, leading our technology department, and has also been a presenter at Autodesk University. Last but certainly not least is Mark Rawlings, our Civil and Structural Engineering Manager here at JEPCO. He leads our engineering design team and performs most of our client training. And he also goes against the engineer stereotype in that our clients are constantly complimenting his friendliness and customer service. And I guess I should introduce myself. I'm your MC for today's webinar. My name is Doug Kofer, and I'm with JEPCO, and happy to be here and with you guys today. So we really appreciate you being here and excited to hear from our panel. And again, we do want your questions, so please, if you can send in your questions via the Zoom platform here, we would really like to answer those here at the end. So without further ado, we'll get into question one. All right, so the first question I'm going to throw out is to Mark. Mark, in your background in civil and structural engineering, if you could predict one major shift in the way structures are designed by 2030, what would it be?
Well, this shift actually is already happening. There's more and more need to design structures in a modular way. Whether that's your steel structures, your pipe racks, or the equipment mounted on skids. It seems like schedules to engineer and design are getting squeezed more and more, as well as the schedules to construct and build it on site. So modular design, skid-mounted equipment, it puts all of the work, most of the work in the shop. It's a lot easier to build. They can avoid interferences, delays in the field, weather, things like that. And things fit up better when you design things in a modular way.
Yeah, and to leverage off what Mark's saying from a field perspective, obviously the schedule input is huge, because we can take it off the truck, set it into the to the racks or the unit, and we can keep schedule and gain efficiency. But with the shop fabrication, I mean, you're in a controlled environment, so you get better quality. You don't have to worry about cold weather temperatures for hydro tests. Just as an example, it makes the field's life easier if we can just take things off the truck and set it right in the field and carry on about our day-to-day business.
Yeah, and something else that you made me think of, Kevin, was sometimes you're at the mercy of the fab shop, that's close to your job site, and modular construction actually opens it up to where you could fab things a little bit further away if it gets shipped pre-assembled or mostly assembled. We found that it's opened up the doors to fit in a tighter schedule, to maybe you fab it in Louisiana and ship it to Oklahoma or wherever it is. Of course, we always do a cost analysis to make sure it's the best thing for the client, but that also opens up the doors for more fab shops.
No, absolutely agree with that statement.
So does that open the door for reducing costs even further by having more fabrication shops in the mix?
It depends. It can. Sometimes if you're fabbing far away and you have a little bit more shipping cost, but you got to consider the schedule and the time frame in that analysis. Sometimes it's worth spending a little bit more money up front for the fabrication, but a lot less time in the field building it. Or if you can reduce your schedule down by a month, that equals dollars to the clients.
Can you guys talk about the modular design process and how important the assumptions and information that you get from the client and the site are to the process, and that you get those in advance? How important that is?
Yeah, there's a lot to consider when you think modular. Obviously, you want to get all your design criteria, all the factors that go into creating your loads. But when you do modular construction, you've also got to consider, like Kevin was saying, the transportation. You've got to consider what routes are available, bridge clearances, overhead line heights, so that you don't fabricate something in the shop that can't actually be transported to the site. In addition to that, there are load combinations or forces that you've got to consider that are only applicable during transportation, that might not match what the final design criteria is for the structure. Sometimes your modular construction at site, it stands vertical, but you're going to transport it horizontal. So everything needs to be supported in a different way. So yes, before you start modular construction, you've got to make sure you see the big picture, from your design to the fabrication to the transportation to how you lift it up off the truck, set it in place, whether you're going to store it at site for a little while. Ideally, you take it right off the truck and you set it in place.
So you guys have talked about some of the challenges with modular design, but can you talk about the benefits for the customer? What is it about going with modular design? What is that going to result in for the customer?
I think the biggest benefit is a shorter construction window. And when I say construction, field construction on site. The common way, or the way we've done it in the past, is one column at a time, one beam at a time. You connect them. That takes time. It takes permits. It puts people at risk sometimes. So modular construction is, you might have 4 columns built together with all the beams, flooring, grading, handrails, all part of that being shipped to you. It is a safer way to do it. You're putting a lot fewer people at risk. Your crane time, you're reducing crane costs. There's just numerous benefits to doing modular construction.
Yeah, and Mark touched on it, right? It's about schedule. So when modules are fabricated and additional work is being performed off-site, the site can focus on multiple aspects of the project. We're not just held up because we're trying to stick build, as Mark said, column by column, beam by beam. We're able to do multiple activities at once to then be prepared for those modules coming in to, then expedite that end schedule. But I also want to just continue to highlight some of the quality factors that you get in a shop you can't get in the field because of wet weather conditions, right? If it's cold, if it's windy, if it's hot, because again, you're putting people at risk. That climatized shop you work in takes a lot of those factors out of the equation, and so it really helps with that end product to the client, with that emphasis on quality.
So what you guys are saying is that modular design also results in cost savings through repeatability and scale and improved constructability.
All the piping, electrical, everything is fabbed, built in the shop on a skid, tested, inspected, verified, and then it's shipped out and it's connected in the field to the electrical or the OSBL piping. But even outside of that, we have opportunities even on smaller projects where we can somehow modularize a pipe rack. Instead of designing and fabricating 10 different column sizes or beam sizes, we try to keep member sizes the same. And so one steel bent, one pipe rack bent can be repeated over and over in the shop and set in the field at multiple locations. It just gives the people in the field opportunities to adjust their schedule as needed. In the fab shop, they just have one jig that they set up for their construction. It's just reducing, a few hours here, a few hours there, reducing a little bit of risk or a little bit of time there. That when you do it repetitively, overall, you start seeing bigger and bigger savings.
So, Mark made the comment that it saved months on the construction timeline. Would you concur with that, Kevin?
Oh, I absolutely would. I mean, if I had to take a guess, I'd say from stick built to modular design, we probably saved a good 6 months on the project, if not more.
I mean, a month could be, millions, or it could be $100 million in production value of the product coming out of that plant or unit. So if you're talking about 6 months, I mean, you're talking about at least, a very big number and potentially a massive savings for the clients. All right, so now let's jump over to Jay and automation. So Jay, the first question I have for you is, how can small, mid-sized clients or projects, how can they adopt automation or upgrade their automation without a really massive capital investment up front?
Everyone has been making big pushes into also providing a web interface. So now you don't have to have as many physical touch screens out in the field. You can build that system up either on a server or some centralized equipment. And then operators out in the field with tablets or cell phones on their secure networks are able to access and view and monitor and control those systems where they are without needing to spend extra on hardware. So there's a lot of flexibility coming out from the industry now, and in being considerate of not needing to spend a lot of money to add automation to your systems.
But Jay, from a field perspective, you hit on something I want to kind of help highlight. Downtime, right? If you're in a situation, say you're in North Dakota, you're in the middle of a blizzard and your station has an upset, an outage, and it's a safety consideration, right? Why send somebody out in inclement weather to go troubleshoot if they're able to sign in remotely into the PLCs?
When it comes to safety as well, you can remove people from dangerous locations by giving them that control further away from the equipment that is the hazard. And for those scenarios, there's actually a plethora of HMI manufacturers, and they all will interface with the different manufacturer PLC systems. So Rockwell's Factory Talk HMI systems, whether it's a PC based or a panel mounted to the PLC cabinet, they interface really well with Rockwell PLCs, and Siemens does the same thing with theirs. But I could go to a Red Lion, which is a third-party HMI manufacturer. I could spend a fraction of what I would spend for the Siemens or the Rockwell PLC, and it'll talk to the same hardware if I'm really looking to cut costs. And if you're in the middle ground of that, because even the Siemens PLCs, right? The Siemens HMIs, their new Comfort Panel Plus, they have web servers built into them so that if I put that panel in the control shop at that station and it sits on the local area network of that station, and an operator has a tablet that can connect to that local area network just locally there, he can operate that panel from his tablet the same as if he was standing in front of it without needing cellular or anything else, just right there on that local station. So there's a lot of flexibility that we're seeing come from the industry manufacturers, and a lot of them are utilizing existing technologies so that if you have a tablet, it doesn't matter who manufactured it, right? If it was Apple or Samsung or another manufacturer, they all have web browsers, and those web browsers all work with their equipment.
Okay, thanks, Jay. That was great. So, do you or Ben have thoughts on where technology in the automation space may go into in the future?
So, AI is all the rage these days, and it's definitely going to continue to be the rage. What we're seeing in automation with AI right now, this is on the market, you can buy these products today, is that they're trying to take the trend history from all of your sensors, your motors, your equipment, and do analysis on those to start to flag when you're having premature failure or a failure, so that you can replace the part before it fails and reduce your downtime. So they're trying to enable the operators and the engineers to more quickly address problems before they result in downtime. And then also to help with analyzing where the weak points in the system are that would cause downtime and are easy to put spares on hand.
Yeah, I think Jay's right. AI is just going to be an enormous development step forward, I guess, in the way that we operate and maintain our facilities. Jay mentioned the ability of AI to analyze performance logs and all this tremendous amount of data that our instrumentation is capable of outputting, and looking at predictive failure, when something's going to fail based on previous data, and likely suggesting tuning enhancements to get better performance out of equipment that we already have, and whether that's providing efficiency in terms of operating costs or prolonging the life of equipment. That's a capability that AI has or will have, that I think really just enhances our ability to operate efficiently and at a lower cost. I mean, I think we're in this period of adjustment and learning to trust what we're getting out of AI and what AI is capable of. I think we'll continually augment our trust in these models and the data that we get from them and the results that we get from them.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really key element of where AI is right now and how we have to react to it and leverage it in a way that's going to be really useful. You brought up medicine, but I think this applies to everything with AI right now. It's in the sheer power of the computational ability and the fact that it's massive, and what you can get out of it is amazing, but you still have to review that and make sure that it lines up with what you're seeing in the real world. I would imagine Kevin being in the field and dealing with construction and actual projects feels this way more than anybody in the room, probably. But But the reality is, AI can review millions of pieces of data and say, this, and this from that data. But if it doesn't match up to what's actually happening in the real world with a project, then how helpful is that really? It's really not, right? So I think that's where we are with AI today, and where we're going to be going in the future is we get to a point of trusting the model that we built, but you still are going to have people reviewing the outputs of the model to make sure that it's lining up and it's useful information, because what you don't want is for things to go off in a bad direction and then something bad happen.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, we'll never be able to replace the human aspect in construction. I mean, our tools in the field obviously are evolving as technology is improving things, but we have so many human factors out here that trying to take both aspects and marry them together will continue to be just the challenge, and it will get better as we all improve our knowledge and understanding of the AI systems and what it does for construction.
Absolutely, Kevin, 100%. So before I segue to the next topic, I'd like to hear Jay and Ben, your thoughts on, from a customer's perspective, what do you see as the tangible benefits of AI as it relates to automation? What do you see as the upside for plants that they can tangibly get from AI in automation?
A real benefit of AI at a plant when used for automation is going to be the reports that your engineers and your operators are going to get on the minor changes that may go missed by day-to-day operations that are negatively impacting your process. And now you're getting extra information, diagnostics, and failure warnings without having to run new wire to sensors, to install sensors in precarious locations, or maintain those things. And so you're seeing value there, and value in the time that your engineers and your operators are going to save trying to track down potential problems that the AI is picking up and flagging, because it just runs in the background.
Can you talk a little bit about where you see that going the next few years and how that can benefit JEPCO's customers?
Yeah, well, and it's already happening. I mean, like I said, you can get AI capable laptops for under $1,500, and it's not going to be very long at all if it's not already happening that that's going to be built into your phone. That may be piggybacking on some other larger services that are also themselves using AI, but just the ability for your phone to make some predictive guesses and provide some of that AI capability right locally without having to touch some distant, faraway service is already happening.
Yeah, when we talk about these specialized GPUs, we're talking about some very high performance processors all put together in a die that are able to process these billion points of data in a very short amount of time, so that they can build a model, test the model, and iterate on it very quickly. But once you have a working model, you can distribute that to these newer computers.
Yeah, that's really interesting what you guys are talking about in terms of AI, and I was trying to work that out in my head. It's one thing to talk about AI in terms of harnessing the incredible power of it from a computation perspective, and using massive servers and everything to build a construct or a model to help advance the performance of a plan or a project. But once you have that done, I mean, you really could have much more type of hardware that most companies have today or can get today, and distribute that model to people in the company much more easily and leverage the AI, model that you created to actually advance the business. And that's something that is really, really interesting to me. And I think how JEPCO can, um, you know, be involved with AI and helping its customers leverage it in the future is something that we're going to see a lot more of. All right, our next question is for Kevin, Director of Construction Services here at JEPCO. Kevin, what is one of the biggest challenges with coordination between engineering and construction that you're seeing?
So one of the challenges, which I think is not just unique to JEPCO, but it's all engineering firms, is the concept of constructability. And constructability starts well in advance of having boots on the ground. And so the one thing that I've come accustomed with working with Mark and our pipe designers and mechanical teams is, hey, let's look at those drawings that you guys have out there based on the information that's readily available. Is it constructible? Does it have all the right data on it? And so being able to sit there and look at those 3D models and those ISOs and orthographic drawings or civil drawings, and just saying, okay, if I had to take these drawings out there to the field tomorrow, could I build what I'm being asked to build based on these plans and drawings? And all that constructability comes back to the other C word, which we talk about continuously at JEPCO is communication. It's how we communicate between the various disciplines and groups to facilitate getting what is required at the end of the day to give our customers and our clients the best product from engineering all the way through construction.
And I can speak to it on the engineering side, my side of the things. Some of our best resources are the guys in the field, either guys that see the full picture or guys that have seen this 100 times before. Whenever we run into a problem, we try to get their input. Sometimes we'll ask, what do you think is the best way to go about? And they have excellent ideas. So we always try to strip any pride that we might have as engineers or designers of saying, hey, I know better than anybody else, or it's my way or the highway. We try to collaborate all of our efforts to try to come up with the best solution. So we are always, if it's not at the stage of being in the field, we do have the benefit of having Kevin and his team who have seen a lot of situations that are either the same or very similar to what we're dealing with. We have the benefit of asking their input. They see things that we don't see because they've done things that we haven't quite done. Things always look a lot better on paper than they do in the field. And so it's vital to get their input on a lot of these designs at the very early stages.
No, I mean, you're 100% right, Mark. I mean, questions, they're easy, right? Ask the questions, get the clarification, because again, none of us want to see RFIs in the field. None of us want to see delays due to questions or uncertainty on what the drawing or the engineer was intending. And also that plays into our equipment and our vendors and fabrication, right? We need everybody to understand that the drawing is king, and things in the field will go together accordingly as long as we follow those laid out detailed plans. But it all comes back to that expectation on that collaboration and communication.
So do you guys have things that you really try to focus on to continually move things forward from a constructability perspective to benefit our clients here at JEPCO?
We do have standard questions that we ask on each of our projects. We have our previous experiences that tell us these are the areas to specifically pay attention to, but every project is unique. And so every project we're building that list of questions to then just make sure that we are spot on the best that we can.
We're always talking. We're always seeing each other multiple times a day. And so it's really easy for us to just ask, hey, come take a look at this. Give me your input. So we do not work in silos. We do not work by ourselves. We are a team and we help each other out. In the end, we always have an experienced checker.
All right, so where do you guys see this going in the future? How does constructability get even better down the road?
Well, I mean, obviously, we've talked a little bit about, how can AI help us, right? That computing power, being able to do some of those class checks, through the machine. But how do we get better? Well, we have to continue to train and mentor the next generation. And that could be just in their own disciplines. It could be just on how projects go together, how engineering solves problems. But really, it's being able to tell people it's okay to ask questions. We love what we do, but we know we can't do it forever. So we have to be able to mentor and train the next generation to take charge and ask those good questions.
I've found that taking them to the site, whether it's at the beginning of the stages or the end, taking them to site to actually see what it looks like in the field. One of the most common comments that I hear is, wow, that looks a lot different than what I thought it would look like, or there's a lot more going on in this small area than I thought. So going to the site, learning the lingo, seeing how everything fits together, it gives the engineers and the designers that perspective that they can't quite get just being in the office. So we can't do it on all of the projects, but when we can, we like to bring them to site. It's a great education opportunity.
I think another key practice for us is having a lessons learned meeting after the end of a project, so that we can get people together that worked on the project, talk about what worked really well that we want to continue to do going forward, and some of the things that caused friction, and both for us and for the client, for the construction team, and where we can learn from those friction points and improve on them.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Ben. Right, that definitely that lessons learned meeting is so valuable. I mean, it's valuable at the IT level on just how did we set up the communication trail between the field and the office.
So just like I have with every other topic, I'm going to ask the same question. How does improved constructability directly benefit the customer at the plant?
Well, it goes back to what we had earlier had mentioned about schedule and downtime. So if the drawings are put together and the materials are ordered and received, and there's no changes and no dimensional bus, the entire project goes together according to schedule. And again, I've said it before, if the design is good and the risks have been identified and we've mitigated those risks, your safety on your project becomes a lot easier to maintain. That zero incident, zero recordable concept, which we strive for in every project.
So it's really all encompassing is what you're saying. It's cost savings, it's schedule savings, and just better safety for the workers at the plant. All right, Jay, next question for you. So what is the biggest mistake to avoid when implementing automation?
Involving automation early on in the project. Automation will typically come towards the end of the project when you're trying to get the programming and all of the operator interfaces set up. But if you include automation early on, there are risks and questions that we can identify to try and eliminate as much technical debt as possible for our customers. If you're not familiar with that term, technical debt refers to the amount of time and effort or resources you have to put into learning something before you can use it. And so if our customers want to use a specific controller from a manufacturer. And we're asking those questions early on and able to identify risks associated with memory limitations or IO counts. Then we can make those plans more concrete before we have to ever program it. And then when we finally get to the end of the programming, we are able to program and configure their user interfaces and their control systems in a way that their internal automation people are familiar with and happy with. And that way, when their operators come up to this new unit or this rebuilt section that's got all new hardware in it, they don't have to learn a new system. They can intuit how it's supposed to run or where the screens are that they need to get the information that they need to do their job, because they don't have that technical debt of learning a new system. We've been able to be consistent with how they do things internally. So if you get automation involved early and we can identify those risks and come up with that plan before we are rushed for time and just trying to get a workable product, we can reduce that technical debt for our customers quite a bit.
Yeah, so technical debt kind of applies in my world too. I spend a lot of my day programming, writing code for our company and the way we manage project data. And there's always shortcuts I can take programming wise that possibly produce a feature faster. But if I don't think if I'm not forward thinking about the code that I'm writing and thinking about how could this be extended or adapted or modified in the future, and maybe spending a little bit more time on writing that code in a way that allows me to extend it later on, then I do produce this idea of technical debt. And so later when somebody comes and asks for a feature, for some kind of feature enhancement, I may have to kind of write myself out of a corner that I created earlier on by taking that shortcut. And it just complicates my life, makes it more difficult to provide that new feature. But when I slow down a little bit and try and think of what the possible future requests are going to be for that particular feature, I can often write better code that is more adaptable. And then when that request eventually comes in to modify a feature or do something new that I hadn't thought of originally, that code is much more amenable to making those changes. So it helps me produce a better product for my client, which is basically our employees, and in turn makes us more capable of providing better a better product to our client.
All right, thanks a lot, Ben. That was great. And really, guys, all of the content and insights you provided today has been fantastic, and we really appreciate it. But we're going to now move to the Q&A portion of today's webinar, and let's go now to our first question. All right, so question number one from the audience for you guys is, what do you think is the biggest thing the industry is not prepared for yet, but should?
I think we've been talking about AI a lot, and we all know it's going to be part of everybody's future. One thing that I don't think we're ready for yet is the power consumption, the power needs that AI will require. And so personally, I can see there being a high need for really quick power generation plants. I don't know if they're going to be large scale like most of those that we have throughout the US. I can see them being smaller scale, whether it's renewable energies or nuclear or whatever it is. I see these being small plants, modular construction that can be built in the shop and assembled at site and quickly put together to provide the power needs that our country's going to need here very soon.
And from a field perspective, I think one of the challenges we're going to have is a labor shortage of skilled laborers. There's not as many young men and women coming into the trade crafts as the push is still to have secondary education with college degrees. And so I think our skill set is somewhat going to be limited as we move forward through the future here. And we're going to have to find creative ways, and we're going to have to excite people about being in the trades and going and building things, projects. And I think it even goes for site supervision and management. I think there's a lot of folks that don't quite want to make the effort to commit themselves to be in the field as much as they would be, say, in an office location. So I think some labor challenges are definitely going to continue to face our construction craft arena.
Any specific type of skilled craftsman that you think is more dire than others?
I definitely think that we're going to have some pinch points in the welding and fitting space, along with our E&I folks, and maybe more of a focus on some of the programming aspects and automation.
Yeah, and I think beyond the shortages in labor, skilled labor, engineering also has had massive shortages in terms of retirements, and then new people coming into any given engineering field. There's just huge shortages.
What I see a large gap in is OT, particularly in working with engineers and operators, because generally in the past you would just have a single giant corporate network that the IT team managed. And now that we're putting firewalls and we're putting DMZs in and we're putting controls networks in, and we're segregating all of those networks. And now you have different IP subnets for different physical locations. And maybe you have several within a single physical location. And I gave it an IP address, but it's not working, and we don't know why. Those types of issues, there's not a great crossover between IT and OT right now in the industry. And I see some groups that are developing those as separate entities within their business structure, some that keep it a single group, and then some that the IT is all on the business side and they offload the OT all to the control side. And so we definitely need people that understand network architecture, firewall, and network security.
All right, thanks a lot. That was great. All right, question 2. You guys are out in the field and working on projects all the time there at JEPCO with our clients. What are you guys seeing that has you the most excited personally?
Well, from a field perspective, it's always not knowing what the next project is going to give you. Obviously, there's been a lot of work in the oil and gas space, but as Mark alluded to, the power space, right? Is it going to be building a mini nuclear power plant in your backyard? Is it going to be solar farms, wind farms? Is it going to be something that you may or may not have thought that in your career you might have had the opportunity to go out and build? I get excited all the time when I go to the field, because I just never know what opportunities are going to be out there and what the next challenge is going to be, because there's not a single project that is similar in concept or construction. So I'm always excited. I'm a field guy. I just like those engineers that keep engineering and let us old field dogs keep building infrastructure around the country and the world.
Are you allowed to tell us whose backyard you're building a nuclear in?
There's one happened just north of us in Utah, in my favorite place, Kemmerer, Wyoming.
Well,
I
I was
heard
going to
Eagle Mountain.
say, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I heard some news articles that Eagle Mountain's going to do it as well because unfortunately it's just the power need with these data centers is just surpassing what traditional transmission and power grids can sustain.
Yeah, I've worked with a colleague who's doing projects where they install small natural gas generator systems for municipalities so that when peak billing rate hours come up with the utility, they have the option of kicking on this natural gas power generator and offsetting their peak usage costs. And it's fairly economical for them. So I think we'll see a lot more of that small modular format for balancing or offsetting energy costs. Well, I am very excited about all of the major players in the industrial automation space embracing Ethernet communications. There was a time when every manufacturer had their own proprietary protocol, and it was some flavor of RS-232 or 485 serial, and you had to buy a very expensive gateway or converter in order to communicate with another device from another manufacturer. And with all of them embracing Ethernet networking, we're seeing a lot of common ground in integration of vendor technology. And so it's making my life not only easier, but it's making the product for our customers better, because now we can do more advanced alarming on system status because we can get more information natively from multiple manufacturers' devices.
So I think my answer to the question is sort of a convergence of a lot of technologies. We've recently brought scanning in-house, so we can go out to our client facilities and do laser scanning, which helps speed up our design process, helps us in model review, and other technologies like virtual reality. We were just messing around today with a VR headset and one of our facility models, being able to visualize that completely in 3D in a very immersive way that can help train operators, as well as construction personnel visualize what they're going to have to do when they go into existing facilities and construct within the confines of an existing facility. So there's just a whole slew of technology that is making us better and more efficient, and helping our clients to have a better project experience, reducing the amount of downtime that they have, and making their facilities more profitable.
And the way I would answer that question might be a little bit old school, but what I get excited about for future projects is the same thing that I get excited or had gotten excited about past projects, and that's opportunities to help people, right? Behind every project, there's somebody that you're working with, and you are helping them solve problems in their facility, or working together with the client to, in the end, come up with a good result, a good design, something that gets built well, and then you see the end product, and there's just a lot of satisfaction that comes from working together with people, getting to know them, and then working to ultimately the best solution for the project.
That's great stuff, guys. Really great stuff. All right, so now let's look at the other side of the coin. This is a new question that just came in from the audience, but is there anything happening in CapEx projects that you're seeing that kind of bothers you?
One of the things that I see, not all the time, but often enough that it comes to mind, is when a CapEx project is coming to completion and the owners of the equipment that the project was building, installing, creating, are finally being brought in at the end, and they've had little to no say in anything about the project until it's being turned over to them. In which case, I get a laundry list of why does it do this? Why doesn't it do this? Why was this equipment selected? It's outside the scope of equipment that we buy or have been trained on. And there have been several projects where they probably could have saved $1 million pretty easy if they involved that stakeholder early on in the project. So,
all right, so we've got time for one more question here before we wrap up today's webinar. Has there been a project that you can think of that's been your favorite?
All right, I'll take this one. So, for me, it was a project that we executed. It's going on now over a year ago. Took us a couple years to construct in the field, but in Oklahoma, had the pleasure of building a greenfield facility to support our continued efforts in the U.S. for sustainability in oil refining productivity, and being able to start at the very beginning, and being there till the end, and watching the unit migrate from basically clay dirt all the way to an operating facility. It brings me so much pride to think that we were able to accomplish that from an engineering standpoint, from a procurement arena, and then of course the construction. All went together. It went together safely, and at the end of the day, we turned over what I believe is one of the best new units to be built in this country in a long time.
I had a project with one of our customers who wanted to identify horizontal drain monitoring systems for their depressurization of high walls in a surface mining operation. I've been worked with them for about a year, doing some research and development, coming up with a couple of options and settling on a solution, and then implementing that solution and seeing that work out. And the data that comes from it is it's amazing how much of it is in line with expectations, but they didn't have quantifiable data to back their expectations. And then how much of it is a little surprising. And now that they have that quantifiable data, they're able to make more informed decisions in their hydrogeologic and geotechnical decisions.
So it's a little hard for me to answer this question because I'm not very client facing, but I'm actually just kind of amazed by our entire team and the products that we produce. We had a recent project that just finished up in Ohio, a brand new facility that it was a pile of dirt or a bunch of fields of grass, I guess, 2 years ago, and now it's a fully functional facility for the client. Pretty amazing to see that whole process go together. I think of our SME chemicals team and their ability to go into a facility, analyze their operations, and wind up saving the facility millions of dollars per year just in reducing the amount of wasted material that they're using is pretty spectacular. And I just, I like the way that our team works together and provides services for our clients.
One of my first projects here at JEPCO was being part of the team that did a major upgrade for a local refinery here in Utah. And there were many parts and pieces to it. There were new units being built, and we did a lot of the OSBL work. So we did a few things in almost every single one of their units, and it's been fun ever since, because when they call for a small project, a small need, I can say, oh yeah, I know, I'm very familiar with that unit. I know exactly what you're talking about. Let's come out and take a look and see what you need. So it's kind of like going to an old friend's house and being with people that you've done a lot of work with. Just knowing and understanding their facility, their needs, and kind of talking their language at the site. It's been a lot of fun, brings a lot of joy.
All right, that was great stuff, guys. And that's going to wrap it up for today. And we really appreciate you guys for all of the great insights you provided. And we appreciate all of you for joining us today on today's webinar hosted by Joe EPC Services. 5 Ways Capital Project Success is Changing. If you submitted a question and we didn't get to it, don't worry. We're going to send you an email response directly with an answer to your question. And also, this content will be posted on our website, so you can always refer back to it if you need to. So again, thanks for being here with us today, and we'll see you again soon.